Moving on, our mission is to come alongside churches in training young people to think like Christ by providing conferences and effective teachers of scriptures to challenge youth in the way they think and will therefore encourage youth to impact the world around them for Christ. And I know that's a long mission statement, very long sentence, but it kind of incorporates everything we do and stand for. And it is our goal to see young people be encouraged in their faith, to grow in their faith, because that is the next generation. That's the generation that's going to be our teachers and our leaders, and we want to impact them. Since the very beginning, it's become more than just youth conferences, though, because we also see a need to reach the fathers. So we've started doing men's conferences because, men need encouraged too, because they're the ones raising these kids. We see these kids once a year at a youth conference, another time at camp, maybe other times throughout the year. We get them 2 or 3 days a year. Well, fathers should be getting them a lot more than that. Unfortunately, a lot of fathers fall short as fathers. So we started doing men's conferences because we want to reach the men as well, and think that fits our mission plan for reaching youth perfectly. We also do Bible conferences, and typically when we have some speakers come in, especially if they're out-of-town ones, and we're going to do a youth conference, we'll bring them in a day early, and we'll do a Bible conference the night before, so families and adults can come and hear what's going on, hear the teaching, because these teachings are not just for the kids, they're for all of us. And we want to make sure that everyone is learning and growing and things. So that's how we kind of eventually branched into Bible conferences and men's conferences. So let's keep going on. So this year we were able to do, we actually canceled or postponed our youth conference from last October, and we ended up doing it in April this year. So youth conference this year, and our speakers were Nathan Ottman with the Family Leader, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Family Leader or not, but it's an organization based out of Des Moines, and they do a ton of training for churches as well as many other things. And Nathan, he has spoken several times for us in the past, and just a phenomenal speaker, and really, really loves the youth, and had some very good messages for the kids. We also had Pastor Thomas Osterkamp from here in Cedar Rapids, and him and his wife came and did some teachings. And then we had Carl Kirby with Reasons for Hope was here. And I don't know if you're familiar with Reasons for Hope or not, but they are an apologetics ministry, but they're very focused on the youth and equipping the youth for basically for tomorrow. And then we also had Brian Scoggin was here. He is the former drummer from Casting Crowns. He actually just retired this year, and so he's looking at doing some speaking. So he came and hung out with us today. He actually helped lead worship for the youth conference and things. So it was a really good day. Also, we had a Bible conference, which, like I said, did the Bible conference the night before the youth conference, so all those speakers were here in town, and so they all spoke. We had Nathan and Carl and Brian speak. The guys with Reasons for Hope have a debunked minibus, and they take those around to different events, and they, if you're not familiar with them, but they have these debunked videos where you can, they're like 5-minute videos, and they address different issues that will arise, like, all those animals didn't fit on the ark, and they have a video for that explain how it is possible, and things like that. So a lot of apologetics type stuff. So anyway, they have a bus with these videos playing in. They open up the back, have a TV screen there, literature they hand out. So those guys brought the bus to town, and we have that here as well. So, and then in February this year, we also had a men's conference, and very well attended. We've done the men's conference twice now, and both years it was a good turnout. One of the main things we do is we do the Feast of Meats for the men. The men seem to enjoy that a lot. Most of them do. And usually some really good food. We have several guys, they contribute and cook all kinds and smoke all kinds of stuff, and we have a big table full of meat and very few veggies. I think our vegetable is potatoes. We have baked potatoes to go with our meat. So it's a good men's conference. This year we had Juan Valdez. I don't know if you see his picture or not. He's a pastor out of Miami. He came up this year and was able to do our men's conference again. And just a great speaker. He's a good friend of ours as well, and a friend of our church. And he has spoken here a few times. And we've really grown to like him and enjoy him. And he's our friend. But also brought some really good lessons for the men. I thought it was very timely and impactful and encouraging. So we were very blessed. We had a great turnout for the men. It was good to see. So a lot of times guys aren't willing to give up their whole Saturday to come sit in church, but we had a lot of guys who came. So, all right, so moving on to Solid Rock Camp. Solid Rock was first birthed as an idea back in 2011. And we were sitting around a table, and we were having a board meeting, and we were discussing ways to help train young people. So part of what we want to do is not just impact people or reach kids on a yearly basis with a conference or two or three or whatever, but also mentor and train and help people be in ministry. And so one of the ways we do that is, we have people help us with our events that we do. So as we were discussing what's the best way of helping train Christians to be in ministry, really the best way I know is through camp. The camp ministry has so many opportunities to minister. Whatever your gift or talent is, there's a spot for you in the camp ministry. And so as we discussed it, we decided, well, the best way to train staff then, or people in ministry, is to actually have a camp. So we decided to start a camp. And at the beginning, we weren't sure what that was going to be. We figured we would maybe rent a place for a week, do a week of camp once a year, and just kind of see how it went. So that was on a Saturday. Later that week, on a Thursday, myself and one of the board members, we drove out and we visited a place that had been a camp, had closed down, and had not been operational for a while. I didn't know if it was still there or not. We drove out there and seen it, walked around, and everything was just still there. It, grown up with weeds and stuff. And as we left, we were talking and said, well, maybe this is some place we can talk to the owner, see if we can maybe use this place. We got out to the road, and one of the owners was there, and he met us, and he introduced himself, asked us what we were doing, because we were driving around his property. So I told him, I'd been at camp. I went to camp there once when I was a kid, just wanted to come see if it was still here. He got this big smile on his face, and he said, we closed it 10 years ago, and we were waiting for someone to come and reopen it. And I just looked at him and said, well, here I am. And I met with him later that week. He handed me the keys to the gate and said, it's have at it. See what you guys want to do. So we started cleaning the place up for really 2 years. We reclaimed it from the forest. This thing was overgrown with mollyflower rose. I know the McCools, you guys had a mollyflower rose pile that was, 12 foot high probably, wasn't it? It was huge. They were out there several days a week just chopping thorn bushes down. And it was awesome. We had so many people come out and help us over the years. It's just unbelievably encouraging, people backing it and wanting to see this happen. Just awesome. And we would have work days. I know we did a church retreat out there a time or two, and like a work day for the church, and just we had lots and lots of help. I had a couple guys that were single in their 20s, and there was 2013 when we were getting ready for our first year of camp. We were out there 5 nights a week till my daughter was, well, she was a baby, right? I think Elizabeth was born in that year. I mean, I hardly seen her for the first 3 or 4 months. I mean, he's out there every night till 11 o'clock, doing tile, building decks, just a bunch of stuff we didn't know what we were doing. We were watching YouTube videos. Okay, let's do this, guys. But there's usually another guy helping. So I had a couple guys. I mean, they invested a lot of time, and we were able to, our first year, have camp in 2013, and we tent camped, and it rained every day, and it was awful. Jacob, you were there, right? That was the first year. It was. I mean, we had fun. It was good. It was camp, right? Like, you still had a lot of fun, and it was good. And actually, several of those kids still come to camp. And they're like, man, that was our best year. Like, you guys are crazy. It was terrible. Like, we actually called all the parents and said we're quitting a day early. Like, it rained every day. Everything was, you only dry your tents out so much. But it was good, and it was a start, and it was awesome. The next year, we just weren't ready to take the next step, and the tent camping was kind of off the table at that point because it was a bad experience. And so in 2015, we were able to get our first couple cabins, and you can see one of them getting delivered there, and you kind of see a picture of that deck we worked on, seemed like for an entire year or longer. I think the picture on the top right, I can barely see it, but I think that's Pastor Troy actually doing a devotional on one of our church outings that we had done there. And then that little swing down the bottom right corner, that was donated to us because we had babies. Somebody gave us a swing, and our Elizabeth and Benaiah both just about wore that swing out. Like, they were in there for the whole camp when we did camp, so it was great. And so 2015, we were able to get our first 2 cabins. We got them portable because at this point we did not know if we were going to be staying at this place or not, and we didn't have any type of permanent agreement of any kind. It was just like a year to year, yes, you can use it type thing. And so we got portable cabins, we got them delivered, and we had our first year camp, and it was great. We had, 14 kids or something like that. Wasn't that big, and maybe more than that, maybe 20. I'd have to look back. And then we started to grow, and in 2017 we had our largest year. And basically at that point we realized that infrastructure-wise was not going to hold up for what we wanted to do, and was going to take a major investment. And the owners of the land weren't really wanting to make this a permanent thing, so we kind of just parted ways, and we'll always be forever grateful to these guys for the opportunity to use this place. They let us use it for basically 8 years rent-free. We had to pay electric bill, do some upkeep, and make it usable, but it was just a huge blessing, and we were able to get Solid Rock Camp started through that time. So 2017, we really outgrew the facility, and it wasn't really that many kids. We ended up having 27 our teen week. That's the year we went to 2 weeks that year, and we had quite a few kids. It was a good turnout compared to what we had, but it was just too much for what we had. So, and then in the process of that, we also started building more cabins, thinking this is going to be a larger thing. So at that point, we had 4 more cabins getting built. They weren't finished yet. In 2019, we decided, or 2018, we had just a small camp. We did a leadership camp, and we just had some teens come, and we worked and finished building the cabins, mostly finished them. They never completely got done. They're in the process of that now still today, but mostly done. Got into the usable state. 2019, we kind of separated out, and we removed all of our cabins from the property, and got ready to start looking for a new place to use. And then that brings us to the modern era, I would say. So 2019, we ended up not having camp. We were in the process of changing things. And through the whole process, we decided to reach out to Living Water Farms, which is a camp I had grown up going to. It's actually where I met my wife. And so we had some good ties there. And I reached out to Aaron, who was the camp director there, and asked him, I told him what we were looking for. And he said, yeah, we'll rent it to you for 2 weeks. And it's the perfect arrangement. It's great. It actually is costing us less to rent that camp than we were paying for our free camp because we don't have any of the upkeep and maintenance. So, which gives us the opportunity to invest more money into the actual camp. And also, we can do projects and stuff for them to be blessing them, but we don't have to, which is nice. And so in 2020, we moved to our new camp, 2 hours away. We skipped a year. COVID's going on. We have no idea what's going to happen, if we're going to have any kids even come or not. And we doubled in size. We had all kinds of people sign up. It was just awesome. We were blown away. We had no idea what to expect. And, certainly COVID made a few challenges. We had to do some extra precautions and all that things, the same things that everyone else has to do. And, most of the stuff you already do, though. You already washed your hand, or supposed to. We encouraged it more with the kids and had hand sanitizer everywhere. As far as, the kitchen stuff goes, you're already washing stuff and sanitizing everything anyway because you're supposed to. And so, there wasn't a lot of extra we had to do. We added the health screening and things like that, which honestly is not a bad idea anyway, because when sicknesses come to camp, man, it spreads like crazy no matter what it is. Because when, everyone's tired and you're not sleeping and you run down and someone comes with a cold and everyone gets sick. So anyway, 2020, we had our new beginning. We had a new home. We had some ties there. I was the program director at that camp for a long time, and that's why, like I said, I met my wife. Through COVID, we worked out okay. To my knowledge, we had nobody came down with COVID at all. In fact, it was probably the healthiest year we ever had at camp. I don't think anyone got sick, at least that I know of. Nothing to get excited about. And we grew a lot, which was really encouraging. Because when you invest a lot of time into things, I know numbers aren't everything, but it's sure nice when people show up. It really is. It's encouraging. Because you do want to reach as many people as possible. And then 2021 came, and we expected some growth. We did some more recruiting for more staff, more counselors, and because you have to have counselors in order to have growth. And we opened a registration on March 1st, and by March 6th, all of our girl slots were gone. I mean, we sold out of them immediately. I say sell because I don't know what else to say, because we don't really charge. So they signed up for all the slots. So we had a waiting list for the girl campers after a week, which was just awesome. So this year, in 2021, was our second year in Bonaparte. It was both weeks were our largest weeks we had ever had. We had 47 junior campers and 56 teen campers. And we're just blown away. It was awesome. We had a great year at camp. Our speakers that came this year, we had Andrew Parker, who we had met last year. He was just a guy out of the blue, applied to be a camp counselor. We had no idea who he was, from Texas. So, we're like, it's just not to get applications that people are like, you just throw them away because they're not anybody you never heard of, and half the time they're actually fake applications. So we get this guy from Texas, so you do the Facebook stalk to see if he exists, and you find him, and then Paul, who's our program director, is like, I know that kid. He was at camp once when I counseled at Southland down in Louisiana. And so the process of things, we ended up calling his old boss at Southland. He had worked at Southland, so we called his old boss, and he's like, oh yeah, he'd be good to have there, So we vetted him, realized he was a real person. Anyway, we talked about the phone, and he said, well, I don't just want to come be a counselor. I want to be involved in the ministry. Like, I want more to do than that. So he actually came up 2 months before camp and lived in our camper for 2 months, helped us get ready for camp. Just a great guy, and just helped with all kinds of stuff for camp. So it was awesome to have him. Anyway, after camp, he moved back to Texas, and now he works in a home with homeless orphans that have aged out of the foster system. And so he works with them and helps them, learn life skills, how to do a job interview, that sort of stuff. And anyway, we had him come up this year and be our junior speaker. And he was just so good. The kids just ate him up, loved him, did a great job. So we were really blessed to have good speakers this year. And I think we had 9 junior campers accept Christ this year during junior week. And it was just so awesome to see God working in their lives. And then for teen week, we had Juan Valdez once again. And like I said before, he's a friend of ours, he's a friend of our ministry. And we had him come and speak at teen camp. And we did a lot of apologetics talks. That's kind of his, in the mornings he would do apologetics, and in the evening would be more of your camp topics that you would normally have at camp. And just great week at camp. I think a lot of kids learned and grew a lot in their faith, were encouraged. And we had a couple, I know for sure, that accepted Christ teen week. I don't know how many. We don't go around checking the boxes and writing it down on the board and putting notches in our belt. That's not what it's about. But it certainly is great to see some kids come to Christ. So, all right, let's keep moving. All right, here is, I got a little slideshow we put together of camp. Just want to let everybody see what's going on here. If I can figure out how to start it. Sorry, I am challenged. Why doesn't it start? There we go. Those are some highlights from camp. So we had a really good year, and I just wanted to play the videos because if I just go through every picture, it'd take forever. You can get the gist of it, and there's so much more. I mean, we can't take pictures of everything, obviously, but it was a good year at camp. And our typical day of camp would be in the morning. You get up, you have cabin cleanup, breakfast, flag raising, all that stuff, and then we have morning chapel, and then we have a God nighttime where the kids all separate out for 15 minutes, and they work through a Bible study book that we write for each year. And after that, then they have what we call counselor's class, and you get together with your cabin and your counselor, and the counselor and all the guys in the cabin, and they talk through what their guy nighttime was about that day. And the intent is to ask a lot of the why questions, because a lot of us, a lot of people know the right answers to things. And so you don't not just looking for yes, no, but why. And so then the counselor has the opportunity then to kind of dig deeper into that. And that's the intent of the counselor class. Then we have game time, and and then you have lunch, and then rest time, and more game time, and all afternoon is activities and things. And then after supper, we have another chapel service. And for the teens, they get to stay up a little later after chapel, and a little free time, play some basketball and this and that. And then bedtime, there's devotions in the cabin, and once again. So there's like 27 times during the week that the kids, have the Bible open in front of them. And besides the verse memorizing, that's part of camp, which is a huge part of camp. And so, the uniqueness of the camp ministry is you're away from the world and the distractions of the world. You don't have your cell phone, you don't have the computer, you don't have the video games. And you can actually see kids go through withdrawal, and it's amazing, but you can see it, some of them even get the shakes. It's weird, and the anger and but then by Thursday, all that stuff is scraped away, and they've been in the Bible all week, and God's been speaking to them all week, and you can see people's lives literally changing before your eyes. And if you have not been a part of a camp ministry, I encourage you to do so. It's so great to see how God uses in people's lives. All right, so moving forward, so as things progress, we are actually have a youth conference planned for St. Louis here in October. I think the third weekend of October. And so that's going to be our first one in Missouri. We're excited about that, heading down there. And we have actually some of the guys with Reasons for Hope will be there, and we're doing it with them. And we'll kind of help facilitate all that. And we're bringing in Carl Kirby as a speaker. And then we have been, for a couple years now, discussing doing a women's conference. And we have not planned it officially yet or scheduled anything. And we are still in the process of discussing it and working on it and talking about what it would be and if we can do one. But I would venture to say that will probably happen at some point. So be on the lookout for that. We've had a lot of people ask us about doing a women's conference, and I really think it would be good. I mean, we do a men's conference. Why not do a women's conference? It's, the same purposes, right? And then also, there's going to be a podcast coming, and I'm actually going to be partnering with Brains and Bibles, Joel Willoughby, and he does a lot of apologetics teaching. That's what he does, and he's had like a YouTube channel where he'll pick a topic and go through it, and it's really good. And so we are going to do a podcast together. He's going to do most of the talking. I'm just going to be there basically to ask the why questions and to get him to dig a little deeper in that. We're going to start recording hopefully next month. And I'm not sure when we'll start releasing those. But at first it's going to be kind of a trial thing. We're going to do a few, see how it goes. And then hopefully it will go on, though. But I will tell you this, Joel's very, very good. And he's very good at taking complicated things and making them so it's every man's language. And if apologetics is something you would like to study, all Christians should study some, right? I mean, you don't all have to be an expert at everything, but there are things that we all should just learn. But Joel does a fantastic job of just breaking it down for the everyday man. So for those who don't want to invest their entire life into a course of study, he does a great job of just like, here's what the Bible teaches about this. And there's lots of things that we believe just because we've always been taught it, and he's not afraid to discuss those and say, well, this is what the Bible actually says about that, you know. And sometimes you're like, oh, wow, I've been believing something, and the Bible never actually said that. And so he does a good job of that, and kind of makes it fun. So I would encourage you to check that out once it becomes available, and we'll announce that to everyone we know once that actually happens. So now, last thing, Think Like Christ Ministries. Everybody always asks what they can do to help be a part of. And it's the same answer for everyone, right? Like, every missionary comes up here and says, you need to pray for us. Yes, please. And I can tell you, this church was so encouraging to us this year, especially with camp. We had so many people tell us they were praying for us, call us, donations. We were very encouraged by lots of the people here at this church, and so I do thank you guys for that. It was very, very good. But of course, pray for us. I mean, that should go without saying, right? Like, you should be praying for people. But you know, as especially when camp's going, we do need a lot of prayer, because it's very taxing, you know, mentally, physically, spiritually. I mean, it's a long, I shouldn't say long. Long makes it sound like it's difficult, but because it's not. But it really drains you. I mean, when the weekend comes, you're ready for a nap. Let's put it that way. But the whole time you're doing it, it's awesome and exciting. But it does wear you out. And so prayer is very, very much appreciated. There's lots of little things that come up through the weeks that you just need to deal with. I mean, Pastor knows, you know, he's been the dean of Ad Camp and things. I mean, things just come up, and they need dealt with. And, you know, sometimes, you know, you just need a little wisdom on how to deal with things, and what things actually need dealt with, and what things individuals need to work through, and then you'd help them with working through them versus fixing their problems. Anyway, we do ask for prayer. It's very important. And then you can always volunteer. You know, money's awesome, and definitely we need it. You know, I'm not gonna tell you not to write us a check, because we need donations. I mean, we provide everything for free as much as possible, and so it takes donations. It takes lots of them. And if we grow next year, we'll need more than ever. But I know God will provide, right? And we've said from the beginning, as long as God provides, we're going to have camp for free. If we don't have enough money to have camp for free, then we might have to charge. You know, it might be 15, 20, 30, 50, I don't know. But I believe God will provide whatever we need. But you could be part of that blessing. But also, volunteer time. You know, whether it's helping with a youth conference or helping at camp, you know, we're going to try to do some work days down there. You know, one of the things for like youth conferences or any conferences that we do, you know, it's a tiring couple of days. You know, the day before, it's all the prep work and setup and cooking and everything, and you get all the way through the conference, and at the end, you have to clean the church. You know, and everyone's like, oh, we're so tired, let's just go home. You know, it's just things like that. You know, in the last couple of years, we've had several people say, hey, you know, can I come help? And I'm like, yes, come 2 hours early and start vacuuming. You know, because that's honestly a huge help. Things like that is, you know, anybody can do it. And the more people who do it, man, the easier it is. So I do ask, volunteers. Volunteers are so needed, and it's easy sometimes to write a check. It's not easy sometimes to give our time, and honestly, we need to give time also to God. God owns everything, not just our money. He owns us. So, question? Oh. How do we sign up for this, like to volunteer? Yeah. Well, you come ask me. Okay. So when we're going to have an event, we'll put posters and stuff up if we're doing them here, and you just come to me and say, "Hey, what can I do to help?" And yep, and that's it, and we'll give you a job and tell you when to show up. So, thank you. All right, I think I'm out of time. Is there any quick questions, or should we wrap it up? All right, good. No questions. All right, let me just close this in prayer quick, and we'll be done. Heavenly Father, I thank you, Lord, once again for this day. I thank you for this opportunity that you've given us for this ministry. I thank you for all the encouragement Blair Ridge has been to us and to this ministry. And I ask, Lord, that you would bless this service today and be with Pastor Troy as he teaches from your word. In Jesus' name, amen.